This podcast is on the volumes of air that you breathe. And so there's a page 55 in your lab pack on the top that sort of shows the diagram that's in your lab book, which is much nicer. But anyway, here are the 4 volumes of air on the board. We have inspiratory reserve volume, that's the first volume, and it's usually 3,100 cc's for males and females, adults. And so what is inspiratory reserve volume? It's the amount of air that you can suck in one big breath. So one big inhaled breath should equal 3,100 cc's for an average adult, okay? Inspiratory reserve volume. Then the next volume, if you can inhale, suck in so much, then you've got to be able to exhale. And so this is expiratory reserve volume, and it is only 1,200 cc's. And it's defined as the amount of air that you can forcefully exhale in one big breath. Now you're going to notice that you can always inhale more than you can exhale. And why is that? Well, when you inhale, it's going to go down your respiratory system into the air sacs, and then that air gets exchanged with the blood, right? And you're going to lose it because once it gets exchanged and it's into the cardiovascular blood system, then basically you'll never be able to breathe out as much as you take in because it's being used by the individual cells in the human body. And so why do they need so much oxygen? The mitochondria needs it so that they can break down your foods, do the Krebs and the glycolysis, and then also to do oxidative phosphorylation to restore ADP to ATP. All right, so that's why you'll never get 3,100 back out, because it goes to your cells and they use it. All right, now the third volume of air is called tidal volume, and what it means, you should basically have 500 cc's or mils measured for the tidal volume. And so it's like the tides of the ocean. They go in and out, and so it measures a non-exercising or resting volume of air, okay? And so you're not doing much, and so you're just sitting around sleeping or studying or whatever it is, but you're not exercising. So you should always be able to take in 500 in and out. Then the last volume of air is called residual volume of air. And the residual volume is 1,200 cc's or mils. And how is it defined? It's the amount needed to keep your lungs inflated so they do not collapse, okay? And so residual means to make sure you've got 600 cc's or mils on both sides to make that 1,200 to keep them inflated so that you do not have that collapsed lung. All right, so now if you add all these up, then we get a total lung capacity of 6,000 mils or cc's, okay? 6,000 mils or cc's. And we can actually measure some of these volumes of air. And one of the ways we can measure it is on page 60 in your lab pack, and it's called spirometry, okay? Spirometry. And here is the little instrument. It's called a spirometer, okay? Spirometer. And they just come in different colors, but they all do the same thing, okay? The average cost of these is about $500. And so here is the mouthpiece. I actually put a cardboard mouthpiece on here. We also have plastic ones, different kinds. And you just slip that on the mouthpiece. And then up here, there's a dial, and it goes from 0 to 6,700 cc's or mils up here. And there's a little needle. And so you just turn at the top like this, and you line it up, the thin part of the needle, right with the 0, okay? Then the next thing, the needle inside here actually has a wire that attaches to a ball down in here. It's a little bitty mercury ball. And so when you blow into this, when you blow in, it's gonna move that ball around and around in a circle. And as the ball goes around, the needle goes up. And this is gonna actually measure your expiratory reserve volume. How much you can forcefully exhale in one big breath, okay? And so on your sheet here, The girl here demonstrates the spirometer. But right here, what are the two most important factors that influence your breathing rate? That would be your sex and your age, okay? Sex and your age. And so on this chart, you could just go down, you find your sex, you go over and your age here, and then you circle it. And that's the minimum amount of expiratory reserve volume that you should be able to exhale, whatever it is on here. So what you do is you just generally prime your lungs. You prime them like you sit down in a chair and you go, and you inhale and let it out slowly, and maybe do it one more time. And then you let it out. And then the third time you go, you're gonna inhale, go, and then you're gonna breathe and in one big breath out. And so the needle's gonna move up, and then that's your expiratory reserve volume, okay? So that should be at least whatever it is for your age and your sex on this sheet right there. All right, then after you do that for expiratory reserve volume, there are some other instruments we can record some of the other volumes with, but we're not gonna do it in the lab. And then we have some instruments over here, right here, and these are called flowometers, and they're actually on page 61. And so flowometers, actually, there's no mercury ball in them, and they just use air, okay? And so what's gonna happen is you have to use some kind of mouthpiece with these, okay? And so you're gonna insert the mouthpiece right like this. And these really aren't used too much anymore, but they were a great way to reinflate your lungs after you've had surgery. So anesthesia basically makes your bronchial tree constrict and your air sacs constrict. So you need to reinflate your lungs if you've been under anesthetic for at least an hour, right? So your nurse or respiratory therapist will come by and they'll give you one of these, or this style. This is also a flowometer, and then this is a flowometer. They have various versions of this. This is the most common that they give out now, but this is the older style, and it's actually very difficult to do. And so after anesthesia, of course, you're gonna have a hard time breathing because all your air sacs and your bronchial tree are gonna be sort of compressed. And so now, every day, the nurse is gonna come by and say, hey, take some breaths in, like, and keep breathing longer and longer. And so you're gonna try to get all three balls up at the same time in one short breath. But when you're just doing it like this, that's helping to reinflate your lungs and get that residual volume up. On this flowometer right here, it says 600 cc's, and then it says 900 cc's, and then the 1200 cc's. So 1200 cc's is this residual volume right here that will reinflate your lungs, okay? And so if I was just practicing, and so see, with my asthma, I can't even get my third one up. It won't even move. But if I do it faster, will it move? Nope, it just sits down there. So that's a great indicator of my poor lung capacity. Now I could cheat and go like this. Right, that would be bad. But anyway, I'm not cheating. So this is called a tri-flow, a flowometer, and it's going to do the residual volume so that you can get out of the hospital, okay? Now these are also flowometers, and every day the nurse will come in here and she'll just move this little plastic needle, and she increases it maybe by 500 cc's, and so eventually she'll put it up to 1250. And what you have to do on this is you have to get a mouthpiece, and so we have various kinds of mouthpieces for this, and this will also help reinflate your lungs, okay? And so right here, you're just gonna put it in, and then every day you're gonna practice trying to get the base of the cylinder up to 1250. And it's very hard, and so you can see I have really poor lung function with my asthma, and so Oh, okay, I can't even get it up to the 500 mil mark. All right, that's sad. Okay, so anyway, this is another type of flowometer, and they are saying that, you know, if you practice with this every day, just do some breathing in, that basically it does help your lung function over time. And so it's sort of like a couch potatoes exerciser, right? Exactly. So those are some examples of flowometers that have no mercury in them and very easy to see and understand. So that's the end of the respiratory system, and hope this helps you. And so that would be it.